Hey everybody, it's Robbie here again. Thought I'd make a little video today. Actually, this is our second, because the first one we made this morning, we come down and we made a real good video, and didn't realize the memory card wasn't in the GoPro. So anyway, we're back down again. It was pissed off, so we gotta go back down and make another video. So we're down here on the oyster farm, me and Bob. This is we don't usually fish oysters like this. Bob's out there with the chest waders, and you can see the shells and stuff. He's out there with the tongs, pulling a few oysters up through. So like I said, I made a video earlier there, the shop talk it's called, and talked about the oyster farming, what I do, and this is kind of part of it. But I have 24 acres of oyster lease in this here area, and I farm oysters and everything. Anyway, the water's open here, and the reason why the water is open is the tide runs strong. This is what we call Brackley Beach Bay. It's a big bay up here. There's 3 or 4 feet of ice up in that bay, but as you can see, there's not too much ice right here, for the simple reason is the tide runs strong. There's 2 bays. We have the Brackley Bay and the COVEHEAD Bay, and in between Brackley and COVEHEAD Bay, where my oyster farm is kind of like a runway, a spillway, and the tide runs strong around here, so it don't freeze over, and if it does, it's just a thin layer of ice. So yeah, that's why it's kind of wide open. It'll freeze over just as a few inches of ice if it turns to -30 or something. You can see the sand hills, the sand dunes off in the distance. On the other side of them sand dunes is the Gulf of St. Lawrence, where I fish lobsters. So yeah, there's the sand hills. Pretty neat. There's Bob. Anyway, like I said, we made a real good video this morning. Like, it sucked to get home and you realize that he didn't record or anything. So there's little patches where we fished through this morning. We were only down here for 10 minutes, and Bob's out there raking. And you get, like I said, mussel shells and oyster shells and seaweed and kelp, and so we just pulling up through the ice. Anyway, when I made the video this morning, I was talking about oysters are like a bear. They hibernate, right? So usually come the end of November, the water's starting to freeze here in PEI, and the oysters will start, they feed on plankton and stuff in the water, so they fatten up, and they stop feeding, right? They hibernate. They just don't feed when the water's that cold. So they're pretty tasty that time of year, but they'll start feeding again sometime in April. And in April, like anywhere else here in Canada, the ice and the snow starts melting, and it creates a lot of fresh water in the rivers and the bays and the streams, estuaries, and the oyster will feed on that. It won't hurt the oyster, but what it does is a lot of you fellas probably don't eat oysters, but it makes the oyster taste, it has no taste. You might as well just drink a glass of water if it's fresh tasting. And I think what most people like about an oyster is the salty taste, right? That's what I like, and I'm pretty sure most people want that salty texture. But in April they don't have it, right? So when we were down here this morning, we fished a few oysters, and I got Bob to open up a couple, and I was really curious to see how they tasted. And Bob ate one, and he said they're very salty. So yeah, we opened up a couple, and they were delicious. So, like I said, I like my oysters plain, or a little vinegar, or maybe some lemon. Not a big fan of Tabasco sauce or anything like that, but anyway, they were real salty. I don't know if you can see the bottom here, but the tide's slack right now. This morning the tide was ripping in here pretty good, and the ice was just floating up towards the bay. But it's definitely slack tide. Little, sandy bottom, their shells. Anyway, I want to show you something. It is a pretty natural process. Like I said, I farm oysters, and but where we're at right here, oysters catch. Yeah, that's good, Bob. Oysters catch naturally here, which means that the seed collects the old dead shells and stuff. So I don't have to put them here. And I farm oysters just on the outside of this, but where I spread them baby oysters is at the other end of the lease, which we can't see right now. So yeah, I want to show you something. Dale Calder from over in Cannibello Island was asking me a few questions. Anyway, like I said, they're like a bear and they hibernate, but they're also like a tree, which means they have rings. And I'm going to show you the rings. This is, of course, an oyster we had this morning, and we tried to open it up. This is a standard, right? Standards ain't worth all that much money. They're worth $12 a peck, and there's 4 peck in a wooden box. So that's $48. But my choice, I get $40, $45 a peck. So $40 at 4 peck, that's $160. So quite a difference from $48 to $160, right? But the choice oysters go to oyster bars and all around the world. Rodney's Oyster House, or I sell a lot of mine at an oyster bar over in Stanley Bridge. But they're easy to open and that stuff. So I just want to show how they're like a tree. They have rings. For every year an oyster grows, it'll have a ring. So I can't see the ring here, but you can probably see the ring right here. Here's a ring. So that's a year, and then the next year it grew to this ring. So there's quite a, there's an inch there. The next year it grew to this ring. There's a ring. It slowed down a little bit this year. It must have been maybe a colder summer or something, right? And then it must have been warmer. Next year it grew to there. And then next year it grew to there. And then here's this year's growth. We broke the end off here, right? But there's this year's growth. So yeah, that oyster's probably 6-7 years old. There's what Bob just got. Here's standard. They're all standards pretty well. That's a choice right there, but he's all clumped together. Oh, there's a choice right there. There's a nice choice. There's a difference. There's a choice. There's a standard. The choice is a nice shell to it, cup size. And oh yeah, here's quahog. We had one of these this morning. I didn't think we were gonna get anyone to come down, but that's what's called a quahog. And they're known in a lot of places as little necks or cherry stones. But they're delicious, raw or steamed open. I like them both ways. I like quahog steamed. A little bit of garlic butter. I like oysters mostly raw. I'm not a big, they're okay steamed. They're really good fried. So you just open them up raw, and you open up 20 or 30 and you roll them in flour and fry them in the frying pan. Here, Bob, do you want to come open? That's enough oysters. I'll get Bob to open one up here. Just explaining what we're doing. Bob's got the oyster tongs, the rakes. We call them tongs here. You can call them rakes, but to open them up, yeah, just set them there, Bob. All the air is 2 rakes on a hinge, right? And it's a technique. You just kind of scrape the bottom and you get your oysters. You gotta fish. We fish over dory, obviously, a little oyster boat. We call it an oyster dory here in PEI. But as you can see, not really much of a place to launch the boat. So we said, oh, we'll come down and make a video today. We just take the tongs down. Here's Bob opening an oyster. Oh, that's a nice oyster, Bob. Delicious looking. And we already know they're salty after this morning. They're very, very good. Let's give a little close up. Look at that. I know it might look like snot or something, but we like it.
Taste.
Here, Bob, you eat her. What's the word?
Oh, delicious. Now I've had a cold beer.
Cold beer, yeah. You can't beat a couple of cold beer, a few oysters, and the wife better watch out. Do you want to try popping one of them quail hogs open? I know you're cold. He's not. Them chest waders Bob's wearing, they don't have any insulation, so that's why it was a short video. And we made one this morning. Oh, that's mud. I think the other one's probably mud too, Bob. But the viewers are getting the. He might be alive. Some days we get 100 of them, and there's people that's all they do for a living. They just fish quail hogs, right? They used to be worth 25 or 30 cents a piece here 10 years ago, but they're down to. Oh, he's alive.
Was alive.
Yeah, he was alive. Oh, these are delicious little fellows here. Like I said, these are delicious steamed.
They're called little necks.
Oh, little necks, cherry stones. We call them quail hogs here in the Maritimes, or PEI anyway, but I know down in Maine they fish them and stuff, and they're called, our quail hogs, a lot of them are sold to the States, and they call them cherry stones, right? No, okay, let's get here, Bob. Let's get a little close up here. Here, that's quail hog. I know it might gross you out, but they're delicious. More beer?
More beer.
Anyway, like I said, I just pissed off. We made a real good video this morning.
Oh, well.
And yeah, we had to come back. Said we're coming back. It's just there's not a breath of wind here, but it's cold. And the oysters we got this morning, we opened a few up, and then we went home and we got warmed up, and then we set a few oysters out in the tailgate. The truck had a kind of a makeshift oyster bar, and we had a little snack. But yeah, this is what we're at here right now. Like I said, we're just bored in the basement, and we want to make a good video this summer.
It's the February out oyster fishing.
Yeah. So I'm gonna make some good videos here this spring on the oyster farm and growing oysters and show you what I'm at, right? Everybody's at something different, and I enjoy watching different videos that I don't know much about. So anyway, cheers from PEI, and over and out.